energy? Are you nuts? What do you got yourself into now? But yet the pull was stronger than the voice in my mind at that time. The logical this, that. And when I moved then from there, Grand Junction, to where I'm at now in Denver, I was introduced first to a gentleman online who has his own coaching practice, huge into the energy work. I did so much healing on the inside of me, honestly, that I can tell you from my perspective of my own trauma, my working in the mental health field for 35, 40 years, I did more healing than I could ever see or do for anybody in the years I was in that field. And I thought, this is how I'm going to help people.
Are you curious about discovering ways of making your life better? Then welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Nickman, and this is The Exploding Human. Listen in while I talk with all kinds of people in the fields of personal growth, health and healing, alternative therapies, psychology, spirituality, environment, and the future. I'm looking for those answers that make life better for everyone. You'll meet cutting-edge practitioners, doctors, artists, filmmakers, business people, and those who have overcome challenges. The brave, the curious, anyone who is out there helping us humans to explore, expand, and explode.
Hey, welcome to The Exploding Human. My name is Bob Nickman. My guest today is Judi Larson. She is a renowned mental health coach, life coach, and energy healer. And we're going to be talking about how Judi has empowered countless individuals to overcome mental and emotional challenges, find balance, and live purposely driven lives. Judi is going to be talking about her traumatic childhood experiences, which led to depression and an eating disorder, and how she was able to heal her past and eventually learn to help others, which is what she does today. We're going to discuss her holistic approach to mental health, how people can overcome fear and anxiety, and how her energy work helps people to heal from within. It's an intense talk and a very honest and revealing talk from Judi. She really has a remarkable story. So let's get into it. This is Judi Larson. Good morning, Judi. I'm so happy you're here.
Well, I'm glad to be here too.
Yeah, we had a nice little talk before we start, so we get to know each other just a little bit.
Sure.
And then we're going to talk about all kinds of things. Let's start with trauma, because that does come up quite a bit in this show. And as you were mentioning to me, you had a very traumatic childhood, probably more than most. I didn't get the specifics during our pre-talk, but that topic, as I was telling you, comes up a lot, and I think that's what has informed your work, your life's work.
It has. I never thought it would go that direction. I look back, but I can see now why it did. At the time I wondered, but like you and I talked about a little bit, by the time I was 4 years old, I already had the mindset there was something wrong with me. I didn't fit in. Here I'm 4 years old. Why would I think that way? I was scared to go in my house. I was afraid of everything, So what really, really, truly happened to me at that age, my mind became my go-to. Whatever my mind said, that's what I did. I had no internal emotional life going on at that time. And why, I don't know. I found that out years later. So by the time I would say I was 17, getting ready to graduate from high school, I stepped into the world of cosmetology. My mother being in the world's eyes, truly a beautiful woman. And I could not compete with my mother. I was the tomboy. So there, I look back, I was not good enough for my mom. So I told myself after high school, you know what? I'm going to go to cosmetology school. I'm going to dress perfect, look perfect, hair, whatever. Maybe my mom will pay some attention to me. It didn't work. But I carried that along for a long time until I was 28 years old, and I got a phone call, and my mom said, don't you ever, ever try to come into my life again. And I thought, what'd I do? What did I do? I always knew my mother was moody, but back then, I don't know if they had a label for it like they would now. I don't know a label, but a diagnosis. And that really set me down a dark path.
What was her reason in her
I never, ever found out. In fact,
really, and nothing had actually transpired.
no.
Just
In fact, when I started doing a little therapy myself around it, thinking maybe I'm the crazy one, they suggested I write a letter to my mom, asking her what did I do, so forth, whatever. I knew. I told them. I said she's not going to answer that. I know my mom. Let's do it anyway and see. I got the second letter. And I tell you, if you want to give somebody the wrath of God, I got it. Don't you, on and on and on and on. I told you, stay out of my life. Well, it was done. It was over. I didn't try again. I tried to figure it out for years, but what it did is it put me full blown into my eating disorder, telling myself, again, like I told you, maybe if I look, I'm thin, I'm beautiful to her on the outside, whatever, she's going to love me. No, what it did is almost killed me because of the lengths I went to try to live that kind of life. By the time I was 19, met a fella that was head over heels in love with me. I didn't know what love was. What's that? It was never spoken in my home. There was no hugs. That was foreign to me. So I didn't know what to do with this. It was like, he wasn't mean. He wasn't anything. He just cared about me. And within about 3 years, I had married my father, who was a severe alcoholic and very abusive. And eventually, Catholic upbringing said to me, my grandmother's voice, if you get married, you stay married. That's just the way it is. So it took me a long time to tell myself I don't have to live like this because I had no self-worth anyway. My life was the eating disorder, the people pleaser, the workaholic, the addicted to cigarettes. I mean, you talk about addictions. I had, except drugs and alcohol, I had them all because it was a way for me to numb out. I didn't have to feel. So I got a divorce, and it was maybe a year or two after that. From leaving the Catholic Church, there's so much to my story. I don't know what to tell you and what not to tell you. But I was going to a charismatic church at that time. And a fella had, you know what that is?
No, I never heard of that. It
means non-denominational, I guess you would say. They believe in God, but what I came to find out through it all, it can be very controlling also. And there was a fellow that I didn't know was watching me at church services and came up to me after a service and said, I've been concerned about you. Well, I didn't trust anybody. So my mind again says, what the hell does he want? Why is he talking to me? And I listened to him out, but I asked him every question you could imagine. I thought, this guy will go away for sure. What do you want from me? Why are you talking to me? What are you going to give me? And I went on and on and on. I thought he'll walk away. And he said, my wife came from severe depression. And I see what's happening to you. Oh, maybe I could listen a little more. But the long and short of it is, I did start working with him for a little bit. And what he did for me, he was the first person that I could maybe give an inkling of a trust to. And he got me in touch with my feelings. Now, here's somebody in her late 30s, shut her feelings down at 4 years old, numb, walked around and lived a life of a robot. Like my mind says, you do go through the motions of life. And the first emotion we got in touch with was anger. I had a raging panic attack. I thought I was going to die. Thank God he was in the room, or I don't know what I'd have done, because I was scared out of my wits because I'd never felt any emotions and I couldn't be in control. Oh my God, what's happening to me? But like I say, we got through that. We worked through a few more emotions. Nothing to the degree over life I needed to, but enough of us start that when I wasn't busy at work or whatever, something in my mind just seemed different. It seemed like I'd created space or something just wasn't the same. And what I came to realize was when you're so attached to your mind or the ego, some will say, and it runs your life because that's all you know and trust, and you start realizing you have emotions, there's more to you than that. It's so crazy making, it's so confusing. It's like, what do I listen to? What don't I listen to? I must really be a mess or so forth. But I continued down that path of questioning, why is it that I'm so afraid of my emotions? Do I even want to look at my emotions? And why am I so dedicated to my mind? And I learned that to me, my mind was the only safe thing I had. It's a voice that's always there. But the older I got, that voice became more and more negative. You're worthless, Judi. You're never going to amount to a thing. You're stupid. Anything I did was wrong. I was a mistake. But by looking good on the outside, presenting as I had it all together, people would have thought I did on the outside. But they weren't listening to that voice in there. Well, from there, I decided something really, really has to change, or I just can't live this life anymore. It's too crazy making. I don't know. Sure, I opened up to some emotions, and it would take me back to my childhood, and then the memories of my mother, and it was just like all over the place. Till one day, all that people-pleasing, caretaking, looking good on the outside, whatever, perfect home, whatever. Look at Judi. I went into a depression that put me sleeping 16 hours a day. I didn't want to live anymore. I just thought if I slept and slept and slept, life had begun. Sooner or later, there wouldn't be Judi. Well, people started wondering because where's Judi? Sleeping 16 hours a day. And another lady I'd known quite well came knocking at my door. I thought, go away, whatever. And the long story of that, she helped me step by step come out of that severe depression. I can look back now in my life and being in that field, I probably should have been in the psych ward, how deeply the depression was. But for the grace, I believe, you can say God, I call it the universe and the energy of life. She helped me get up on my feet to be able to walk, talk, live some kind of a life. And from there, for some reason or another, when I went back to that church, because she was from there, I looked around at all the people in there and it was like, oh my God. They're all going through the motions of life, just like I was. People pleasing, seeking love, attention. I thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And I left. But I also found out it can be very controlling. And they can try to pull you back in from all directions. Luckily, they didn't. And from there, I decided, I was strong enough now to think for myself a little bit more than I had in life. I told myself, I'm divorced. I've got to make a living. I still got a child at home. I'm going to go to college. The loudest voice I heard was my mind saying, how stupid is that? You think you can go to college? You're an idiot. Look at your life. It would go on and on and on. I believed that. Those were the voices I listened to. But I thought, give it a try. What have I got to lose? If I fail, I fail. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it, didn't know anything. But I went to the college where I lived in North Dakota, and I told them what I wanted to do. a woman, single woman with a child, and it all fell into place. I got loans, I got half of it paid for because I was a single woman. And that is what paid for my college. And I can tell you what I learned was amazing. First, from being a child who lives in their own little world that they've made up, to not having love from parents, becoming on the outside this all things put together, I found out so much more about religion. I found out why I took that direction in life and how so many people do that want love. They want attention, something. And it was a real eye opener to me. And it also showed me in the charismatic church that I was at, they didn't believe you needed to go and get any further education because the church will give you all the education you need. Yeah, it'll teach you how to be a robot. Do what they say. Well, I was already a robot. So do. And so anyway, it was a blessing in disguise. It was life changing. It was hard at first because I told myself, "You're never going to make it. You're going to fail. Why are you doing this?"
What type of classes were you attracted to taking? Were you
I took
psychology,
psychology,
Mhm.
philosophy, some of them that you have to take just to get into the social work field. There was biology. I did some nutrition, the basics that you've got to take if you want to go in the mental health field.
I keep
And
getting this question coming to my mind
sure,
that I want to go back just a little bit.
yeah,
Did you have siblings?
I had two sisters,
And
and my mother
what was
did not disown them, just me,
were they older than you?
younger.
They were younger. Okay.
Mhm.
And
One 3 years younger. And if we were on another call doing something else, I have a sister 12 years younger. My mother almost took her out. That's another whole story. But it really made me realize I wasn't as crazy as I thought I was.
so you guys were sort of separated from each other
Yeah,
also.
very much so.
So, oh,
I'm
okay.
the oldest, and my sister's 12 years younger. My mother had divorced by the time I left home. And so my youngest sister, my stepfather, raised her. And I never saw her after the age of 7 years old. My mother made sure of that for whatever reasons until I would say it was 15 years ago was the first time I ever had contact with her. So very interesting there.
And you
Another
got
whole
to
set of
compare notes.
dynamics.
You compare
Oh,
notes about the childhood
yeah, much.
experiences. I'm sure it
Hmm.
was pretty
Pretty
eye opening.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So,
so you went to college, you started
mm,
learning all this stuff that was never presented to you.
yeah.
You probably started to see some of your own what's the word, pathology in some of the
Oh,
things you were studying and going, "Oh, I'm not alone. I'm in this
hmm
textbook in this way." And there's possibility. I guess that's the big thing is like you start to see maybe I don't have to feel or live the way that I've been living.
part of it. And part of it was I started open up to the fact that, from 4 years old and being shut down and my emotions shut down for so many years, I realized there was another life. I didn't know life beyond that little world I lived in. And that was presenting me another life by taking the classes, interacting with people. I mean, I was keep to myself. So that really broadened things for me of, wow, Judi, you haven't even been living in the real world because you don't even know what it is. you know so yes, I learned a great deal. It really helped me grow tremendously. But here's where the other parts will come in, and I'll talk to you a little bit about my mind. So I graduated with college, 3.9. I wasn't as stupid as my mind and my dad told me. My dad always told me I was an idiot. You're never going to amount to a thing. Well, that's what I believed. So graduating with that was like, oh my God, I guess maybe I do have some brains. I went to work in the social work field, being so excited, thinking, now I can tell people and help people that are probably living through the same thing or living like I've been living. No, It didn't work. I could only tell them so much of what the book says you can say. You have to do, if you want to work in the mental health field, maybe if you had your own practice, it'd be a little different. You have to follow certain guidelines to keep your license. You can't tell your life story because that's too personal. So you go by what you've learned from the book. That's what you teach them. I couldn't do that. I could only do it for so long, and it was starting to tear me apart. I thought, no, no, no. I've lived through much more than that. There's much more to tell people than just go by the book. What happened was I went to work in this one facility where I just finally told the gal, I thought, I'm going to take a risk. She was my supervisor. And I said, I can't work like this anymore. I'm really not telling people truth. I'm really not allowed to be genuinely myself and what it took to get where I'm at today to be even talking to these people. Is there a way you allow me to tell my story? And she said, yes. That goes against whatever, but I was thrilled. And yes, that did make a huge change. I was able to help women get to the place. I did a lot of deep work with them with inner child work, trauma, and saw huge results. But still, that one missing piece that's going to make them feel whole, complete again, have confidence enough to go out and live in the world beyond all of that. And that's where the world or the life that you brought up at first about energy came into my life. I was living in Grand Junction, Colorado, and people, at least my experience, were much, much more open to the energy field, the universe, consciousness, awakening, so forth. And for me, it was like my heart and soul grabbed onto that like a magnet. Anything I could read, anything I could find, I studied, I did, whatever. And so people came across my path that helped me understand that. And it was, wow. I really, really knew why I was on this earth and why and how I could really help people. It was just unbelievable. But I had to also do some deep, more healing work to not still go back to the logical mind that says, Judi, this is crazy. This is crazy. Energy? Are you nuts? What do you got yourself into now? But yet the pull was stronger than the voice in my mind at that time. The logical this, that. And when I moved then from there, Grand Junction, to where I'm at now in Denver, I was introduced first to a gentleman online who has his own coaching practice, huge into the energy work. I did so much healing on the inside of me, honestly, that I can tell you from my perspective of my own trauma, my working in the mental health field for 35, 40 years, I did more healing than I could ever see or do for anybody in the years I was in that field. And I thought, this is how I'm going to help people. This is truth. This is the real deal. So I think I was with him for a couple of years, and it was time for me to move on. I sensed that. And then for the last 4 years, I've been in a group with a gentleman who had a shaman background. I was so pulled to that, and it made me realize when I was a young girl, we had the Indian mountains where I grew up. I always went there every summer. I was fascinated. And over time, I came to realize, Native Americans, they had it right. The earth, Mother Nature, they honored that. That was sacred. Do you think our world's sacred now and honors it? Are you kidding me? Oh, I don't think so anyway. And it was like, no wonder. I just sucked that all up. And so anyway, working with him and learning much more, I found out that I am what you would refer to as an energy healer, a modern day uh, medicine woman. Now, people would think, oh, that's all that stuff from back then, and the smoke and the this and the that. You can add that to it if you want. No, it's teaching women, people, energy from the heart, that they're good. They came from source, which I call the universe, not this God up in the sky. My belief is everyone, everything has energy. Universe is energy, but it's not all good energy. And if you've got a lot of trauma or a lot of arrogance or pride, and we can go on to a list of it, you're not going to be very connected to that energy. You're going to live at a lower level of energy, like I was doing, my mind running the show, the depression, the so forth. Well, by now, those things were all out of my life. I was very confident. I was, I guess you'd have to have seen me, followed me. But I had a day when I was sitting in my living room and I thought, this is it. This is really what I'm supposed to be doing. But there's still a missing piece. What is it? What is it? What is it? And that day, in my words, I gave up. I gave up my relationship with myself, my family, my friends, my job, my house. Gave it up. But there was one little piece I struggled to give up. It was my relationship with my granddaughter. I only have one granddaughter. And I thought, I can't do that. I mean, what would she think? Whatever. Through my tears, through my whatever, I just take her. Just take her. I give up. There's something missing. And of course, down the road, I realized I didn't have to give her up. I had to give up my attachments to all the things of the world that were holding me back.
Whose mother was she? Whose mother was she? Your father's or your mother's? Your grandmother?
My granddaughter?
Oh, I thought you said your grandmother, your granddaughter.
No, my granddaughter.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it was so hard. But,
sure.
It's like, are you kidding me? And that's when I found out, you have to, it was like this voice said, you have to give up every solitary thing that you hold control onto because it's not serving you. It's okay to have the relationships, have this and that, but it's not serving you. And at that last moment of surrender, well, it can still kind of bring me to tears. It was like this big window of love and energy just flooded into me. And for the first time in my life, I felt loved. I didn't know what love was. I connected with the energy and heart of God. I mean, I felt wanted. I just felt like I belonged. I didn't even know what to do with it all. And it probably took me 6 months to put all those pieces together. And it was like, this can't be real. This can't be real. It's real because I'm still living it. But when you haven't lived any of that in your life, it's like you really see what you've been missing. So I refer to it as a soul retrieval, because I had found out by then that at 4 years old, my father tried to beat me to death. Well, that's when my emotions shut down. My soul parts of me, little soul couldn't handle that. So it disconnected. And so Judi lives going through the rituals. And it made sense to why my life went the direction it did. But it also made me realize there really is true love out there. There really is. It's in your heart. Mm-hmm. Well, my heart? What's that? And so that's what took me on the path of where I am today. And that's what made me decide to write the book. I thought, people, the world needs to know you don't have to live like that. You don't have to live in the brainwashing and the this and the that. But I'd probably kept down part of that world had that not happened to me, that experience. And I'm being as honest as I can be with you and as authentic as I can be for you not knowing me
Mm-hmm.
and allowing me to speak. This is my truth that I live with for the last 4.5 years. I hear the voice of the universe every day, every day. And to me, I cannot ask for anything better. When you come from the shame, the lowest of the lowest, I argued with that for a long time. I fought that. I thought, oh, now I'm really going crazy. This is that, this, whatever, whatever. It was always there. No matter how crazy it sounded, whatever, it was always back. Always loving, always loving. And that's when I was shown to write the book. And I thought, I'm not writing any book. I'm no, I can't write books. Write the story, write the story. So I wrote a book.
And what's the name of the book if people want to get it?
Yeah, the name of the book is From Self-Hate to Self-Love.
Okay.
Is that
By
book.
Judi
It's on
Larson.
Amazon.
Okay.
And so that's when, from there, I was shown you need to get in front of an audience. And I thought, what? Are you crazy? You know how I was. Well, here I'm talking, chattering. You need to get in front of an audience. And that's when I thought, okay. So I put my coaching practice together. I have it all in format. And that's when I decided, well, how am I going to get in front of an audience? That's why I'm asking to be on podcasts, speak for people if they allow me to, so I can, as authentic as I can, let people know you do not have to live like that. And life is not meant to be lived like that at all. I've walked it. I've lived through it all. There is more to life. I can have peace. I can wake up every day and have peace. I didn't know what that was. My mind's not driving me crazy. I have peace and connection. If that tells you anything at all.
Well, that's the whole that's the whole thing right there. I mean, it's what,
Yeah.
why are we here, and it's to feel that way.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, and I mentioned this before we started, the energy work that you do or have done and help people with. What does that look like? Let's say I come to you and I've got, similar situation, similar childhood, or not even similar, just a traumatic event or events that have caused me to live the way that you were living. How does people talk about energy work, and I don't really
understand it quite.
Well, I know from the things I've done, I've had people work with energy with me, practitioners. I've done it. So I know what it feels like to have people sort of put their hands over me and move energy around. I know what that is, but let's explain. And I'm not sure that's even what you do. Let's explain what actually goes on and how you were helped or how you're helping people with that. Cause it can be, it isn't super quantifiable. It's not like, you have a cut and we stitch it up. It's not quite that obvious, and it's not in the material world.
Exactly.
So can you explain that a little bit to people? So, because I'm sure there's people going, "Oh, that's so fascinating," but what actually
the heck is
going on? Yeah, and and I think it probably, can be under the idea of, oh, it's too woo woo, and it's not real. It's not in doctors don't study it, so it can't be good. I mean, there's all that sort of skepticism, and
I had it all. The woo woo brain, I had it all too. And what happened for me is when I connected with source energy, and I've done that now on and on, it's like I'm in touch in the conversation back and forth from my heart to the energy of the universe. Okay? So let's say you were a woman with a background similar to what I'd gone through. And we have a phone conversation, or she comes to my office and she starts telling me a little bit of why she wants therapy or why she thinks she needs to work on things. Already, I have picked up on her energy. I can sense her energy because mine is so cleared out. I work daily, every day, to keep my energy clear by the way I live my life, the things I do, so forth. So my connection here is always open. If I ever feel like it's starting whatever, I make sure I'm connected with the energy of source and my heart, because that's how I choose to live for myself, but also to help others. So she's sitting in my office and probably nervous, and I'm connecting, and let's just put anybody out there, but use it. And all of a sudden, my energy field tells me she's had sexual abuse. You know, it just comes to me really strong. There's some sexual abuse there. And so we're talking a little bit. And in that conversation, when I feel she's comfortable enough being in touch with me and safe enough with me, I will have a conversation with her and I will say to her, I'm going to share this with you. This is what I'm picking up in my energy field. And if it's not true, you go ahead and tell me. I'm not going to be offended. But I sense that somewhere in your background, there's been some sexual abuse. Probably more than likely the tears are going to come because I've hit the spot. There's lots others, but she resonates with that. This woman gets it. How did she get that? Well, I got it from my connection and my energy. My energy to her trauma went over and picked that up. Okay, so we have a more of a conversation, whatever. I will become more intuitive to a lot more things going on with her. And we'll discuss that and ask her if how she feels being in this conversation with me. Does she trust me? Does she feel safe around me? Tell me how you feel, so forth. And if she genuinely really connects with me, she will tell me she feels safe. I trust you. She doesn't know why she trusts me. There's just that pull, that energy pull from my heart to her heart, where she feels safe, connected. That's one way you start if I was going to, introduce myself to them, whatever. And it would go from there and it would grow. And the more it grew, the more confident she gets with me, the more she's just going to open up and tell me about some of the things in her life. My energy then is going to come in with her energy and field, and I'm going to work with the energy in her heart and the energy that the universe has got in my heart, and I'm going to bring some healing to her. Let's say she's dealing with a lot of shame, and I sense that, and I might say to her, I really sense a lot of shame going on. Should we get rid of that? Well, in the world, in the field that I worked in, that's going to take a long time. But I go in, work with her heart, move some energy around. Whew, it's gone. Now, people think you're crazy. I'd have thought you're crazy had I not gone the journey I had. So little by little, that's how we start to open up. But there's many, many other tools I use. Another one would be consciousness versus unconsciousness. Like I told you a little bit, I wish I could think of his name. I read his book. You would know exactly who he is. The fellow, he was a huge psychologist, died a horrific, in this wheelchair. I can't think of his name yet, probably come to me. But anyway, he was big on consciousness versus low consciousness. And
You're not talking about Stephen Hawking, are you?
yes.
Okay.
Stephen Hawking's, and I've read all his
physicist
material.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And his whole life was based on moving from lower level of consciousness to a higher. He had lots of things to work on, so forth. He's a genius that God used, or universe used for a lot of different things. So anyway, in that world of consciousness, I would ask this woman if she would start doing some breath with me. The reason for breath work is if you have a lot of trauma, so forth, you're you breathe very shallow because there's a lot of anxiety, all kinds of things going on inside your body. And in order to open that up, you've got to breathe at a deeper level. And the more you can learn to breathe at a deeper level, the more you clear, the more open you become, which allows for more healing to take place in a person's body. And you become comfortable with it. There's a process that I can use that I've learned, it was taught to me, and I can do myself, which can take somebody that's at very high anxiety. And I can do this breath work with them for about 5 minutes. The anxiety's gone. Now, does that mean it's going to stay gone? No. They've got to learn to want to work with that breath work too. And it will help them then open up to the reason for the anxiety. We can open up to the reason of the anxiety, and now we can work to heal it. So you don't have to live with that in your life anymore. That's another tool I use. Another one, when I'm first working with someone, and I thought this was woo-woo for many years, is meditation. I couldn't meditate, so I didn't want to hear about meditation because my mind was so strong that I couldn't sit still long enough to quiet down long enough to meditate. But I learned to work through that too. So I asked them to get a journal, and I asked them that at the beginning of every day, I want you to set an intention, just set an intention what you'd like your day to be like. What do you want to happen today? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
End of the day, I want you to come back to that journal and write what happened. Did it go this way? Did it go that way? Why? So forth. Okay, let's say we're going to have a session that week. I'm going to ask them share that journal with me. And what I'm going to find is in there is where the disconnect came in to the mind, where I'm scared, where this can't be real, all those, that I was telling you how I lived. And I show them why and why this is happening, why we need to work through this, so forth. And they start to get it. I get it. Oh, okay. I see where you're taking me. And so I do, at first, a great deal of them doing that journal work so I can help them heal on some of those levels and move some of that energy out when they're connected with me. Oh, there's lots of ways. I guess I at first want them, when I work with them, to be stable enough to feel centered enough inside themselves now that they're willing to go to the next level. And I would be honest to tell you, that's probably going to take 3 months because that isn't just going to go click.
Yeah, sure.
Then I have a program that's 6 months long that you work on the trauma. You heal that trauma that's happened in your life. The reason it takes 6 months, it's not going to happen overnight. But you've built a foundation already in the first 3 months with what I'm teaching you, some of the things I've started helping you heal, that you're ready, stable to go do that inner child work and heal that trauma. So and there's tools I use with that too. But at the end of that 6 months, they need more time, we'll do more time. If it maybe comes quicker for them and it's 4 months, that's great. We will move on then to what I call the third level. And at that third level, I will know by them if some of them need a soul retrieval, like what I had. They have to come back and call some of those pieces back now that were damaged, went away because of the trauma. Some of them I might know need that already after the first 3 months. Some of them might get strong enough in this internal work that we're doing that halfway through, I know they need to do that. That's why I'm not working from my head. I'm working through what my intuitive heart shows me in my energy field, in their energy field. So if I feel my heart saying, this person's ready to, retrieve this, I will talk to them about that. I want them to feel safe that way. I'm not going to put something on them to more traumatize them. And if they say no, that's fine. If they say yes, we will do that. And what is involved in that process is I have, I guess you could call almost like a ceremony. They will lay down and on a blanket in their home with where they can see me. I will turn on some drumming, light drumming music that comes from the shaman background. We'll start their energy field, will start to connect with that. And I, being able to see their body, if it's online, with my hands and the crystals that I have in my room. And you might ask, why do I have those crystals? I used to think crystals were voodoo. Crystals come from nature. Crystals have energy. You pull a crystal out and chunk it out of the earth, it hasn't harmed anybody. It has done nothing. It's energy. So I put some crystals around. It just brings up the energy, makes it calm, whatever. For me, I have not a drum, but a rattle. And I will start to shake my rattle and work around them. And that rattle is starting to open up the energy fields that are blocked for them. I'll be able to tell which ones are. I might work over that one a little longer, over this one a little longer. And I will ask them to close their eyes. Now, I'm not giving you this to the total whatever, because it might be a little different for each individual. But I will say, okay, close your eyes and take some very, very deep breaths. Deep breaths. I'm here. I'm still with my rattle. And now I tell them I am going to take them back down, 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 down into Mother Nature, where your soul pieces detached. And we're going to bring them back so you can be whole. I also tell them, are you willing to do this? If you don't, if you're comfortable, this, that, whatever, we won't do it. That says to me, I probably would be picking that up already. Or, yes, I'm ready. I want to do this. They know I'm here. I'm always going to be here. They can hear my voice throughout it all. And at any given time, they want to stop, we'll stop. Because this is for them and not to bring fear, scare them, whatever. So we make a journey. What it is I'll give an example. One, I say, close your eyes. You hear the drumming. Go over and see in front of you a tree. Can you hear me even with my hands?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm doing some tapping, drumming,
Okay.
and I will say to them, walk over to that tree that you would see in front of you. Take a little journey over that tree. Okay, sit down beside that tree. Lean against that tree. Take some deep breaths. Because see, the tree is connected to Mother Nature and the earth also. As above, so below. Below Mother Nature, the connection. Above the energy of the universe. We want to connect those to her heart here so she can heal. So I say, okay, let's travel down the roots of that tree. So we start, my tapping is going on. It's kind of a rhythm that helps us go. And we will travel down to the roots, the deep, deep roots of the tree. And now we'll see this pond of water. Beautiful, clear pond of water. And we'll walk through that pond of water to the other side. This takes a little bit of time. And there's rocks all over. There's all kinds of leaves and branches and whatever in this underworld. And we're going to go in there and we're going to step into this little cave-like experience where you see it over there. We walk in there and you're going to see, and I haven't shared a lot of this with you, you're going to see a piece of your shadow self. Well, you'd say, what's your shadow self? It's that piece that detached. You're going to sense that piece that detached. You and I together are going to ask, are you ready to have that shadow piece, that piece that detached, come back and attach? Are you ready? I don't know. They'll know. Yes, yes, because I would have known already to stop had they not been ready. So she takes some deep breaths. I do some more of my tapping, so forth, walking around her as I see, take the deep breaths, and I say to this piece, she's calling you home. She's calling you home. She wants you as part of her. Are you ready? She's calling you home. All of a sudden, there'll be some light, strong energy. She takes a huge deep breath, and that separated piece comes back into her soul. And she will know that something really took place. She'll feel it like she's never felt it before because I walked through it and lived it. If I'll be able to tell if she, but I wouldn't have taken her this far by now if I didn't think she was ready. So, okay, we do that. She takes some deep breaths. I ask that the light and the love of the universe come over her, her whole body, all over, till she feels strong and whole and loved. And we will start the trip back. So we'll come back through the rocks, over the water, eventually back to the tree. When we get to the tree, she'll come up and walk back slowly into the room where she's laying. I'll let her lay there for a little bit. I'll move some more energy around her. I will ask her to open her eyes, take her time, sit up, and talk to me. And she will tell me just what took place. And she will know, without a shadow of a doubt, that those pieces are back. How do I know? I don't know except by what I've done, what I've lived through, and what I see, and what she tells me. Because the energy of love is doing the work. I'm not doing the work. I don't want any credit for the work. I'm a vessel that is willing to go and do and be there for somebody to have that work for themselves. If that makes sense to you at all.
Sure. Now
And
you're telling me also that you it's like you're mentioning women. Are you mostly dealing with women, or do you work with men?
I can work with men. I guess it's that my life has been as a woman,
Yeah,
my
sure.
stuff. Definitely I can work with men. But my real pull is women with trauma. Not that I couldn't do both.
Right.
And so when you asked me what's that last piece, okay, we've done this. There will be some more conversations she and I will have for a few times. And now she'll tell me what's happening, having that all come back and how she feels different and so forth. Now we're into, what do you want to do with your life now? What's different? What's different about you? How do you feel? Why do you feel? So forth. More than likely, they have such feelings of love for themselves and stuff that they, like I did, that they've never even thought of. And a great deal of these women will now know their purpose and what they need to do on this earth. It might not be what I'm doing, but they might need to do this, this, and this. And it's all again. So they've come back into wholeness. They now have some value for themselves, see some worth. They're going to live a life from a whole different perspective. I mean, you couldn't help. We've already did this healing, we've done this, we've this, and they'll know. I knew something was totally different about me. So I helped them to start the journey of where would you like to go from here? What would you like to do next with your life? So forth. And then when that's all done, that's probably all we'll be working on, unless I pick up something in the energy and they do of something else they'd like to work on that maybe I will work on with them. But I'm giving you a very short synopsis of kind of what happens and what takes place, if that helps you at all.
Sure, you've seen some incredible transformations in people.
Yeah.
Actually, the way, on the way they're living and what they're doing, they may change jobs, they may change where they live, relationships,
Yeah.
all the kinds of things must transpire after something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. See, that's why when I say yes, I've worked in the social work field. In fact, I do part time working with eating disorders. But that's what helped me to realize you can't heal from your mind, Judi. Your mind cannot heal you. Your mind is logical things you do with your life. Only your heart can heal you and your emotions. So that's why I take it to all the places I do and the levels that I do. There's
Mhm.
other things that could happen. Maybe there's a woman that's had traumatic uh, victimization, rape, so forth. She probably in her life is going to need what I refer to as womb healing. That needs to be healed. There's damage, there's dark energy there.
Sure.
That's another thing I can do. But this is giving you the basics of what it would be like to work with me.
How do people contact you to if they want to work with you? Obviously, there's the miracle of the internet.
Yeah, yes. I'm on Instagram and I do have a website. Mainly my website now has a lot of my story on there. I'm not using my website because I'm getting ready to do, in the social media world, they call it a funneltopia, where I can reach a bigger audience. But on there, I do have a calendar, and it's then go set up a time with me. Then come to my Instagram account, Judi Larson 34. Ask to speak to
Okay.
me. Set up
That's
an
the
appointment
Instagram is Judi
with me.
Larson 34. Is it, and the
Mm-hmm.
website is also
And
that, or is that something else?
no, the website is Soul Rebirth. Soul
Soul
Rebirth,
Rebirth.
Judi
Okay.
Larson.
.com.
Mm-hmm. Judi
And
Larson.
Judi Larson is spelled
And
with an I, Judi.
with an I. Yeah. Yeah. And get a hold of me. Or if nothing else, go buy the book. Maybe the book will say, yes, I want to work with her, or no, I don't. I don't want to force anybody to do anything. Those are just pieces that they can reach me with if they do.
That's wonderful. Congratulations on doing all the great work. Look how long of a journey this has been for you from
Mm-hmm.
early childhood till now,
Yeah.
until what really what you're saying is 4 years ago you had this next level of healing.
People don't have to go
Right.
through all that levels like I did. That's the great wonder of it.
Well, yeah, you're
They don't have to
you're
spend their whole life.
experimenting in all these areas because you don't have any guidance. It's just your inner guidance, which takes if you've got
Exactly.
somebody that's already done something. I could try to learn how to play guitar on my own, but if I went to somebody that's already accomplished the things that I would like to do, that's gonna make the trip a lot easier or a lot more productive,
A lot
a lot
shorter.
shorter. Yep.
Not so many years. So that tells you a little bit about
Well,
me.
it tells me a lot. It's a wonderful story. I really appreciate your time, and best of luck on getting that message out there. I know there's a lot of people that need what you're doing, whether your method is right for them or not. That's up to them to figure that out. Obviously, what I like
Yes,
about what you're talking about is there's no judgment, or it's just you're somebody that wants people to find what works for them.
exactly.
You're
Yeah.
showing what worked for you. One of the things I was just thinking about, because I've done a lot of shows on trauma, that I've learned is that the part of the brain that is affected by trauma can't be accessed with talk. And so there are other modalities that have been developed to reach that part of the brain, but the one thing that they don't really talk about in some of those is the spiritual component. I'll use that word. the energy. That's the part of this that I find really interesting. That is, and maybe the two do intersect in some way. That part of the brain and the energy, but you're talking about the heart. So there's parts of the mind that are affected, but also the heart. And certainly, in my opinion, and most people that have looked at this stuff, there's an intelligence to particularly the heart. You've heard this, my heart is broken. Well, how is that possible? It doesn't actually. It's not a hard surface that cracks, but But you're talking about energetically, things get broken, and they can be repaired in the ways that you're talking about. Conventional medicine can't repair it. You can't surgically operate on a heart and make it not broken. Yeah, you could fix a valve. You could do that, but you can't go in there as like, oh, your heart's been broken by this abusive situation. We're going to go in there and rewire your energy. You can't. That's not certainly possible with like conventional surgery. In a way, it's psychic surgery is what you're talking about.
The energy of the universe, I call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a life transforming. Yeah, well, you kind of heard it all. That I would have never dreamt. No, if anybody would have told me this is the direction I'd be in my life, I'd have said, you're crazy.
Well, it's,
if they'd have known me back in the day, I'd have said, you are nuts.
Well, because there's no reference point to any of that kind of thing when in conventional socialization. That's just not part of it. They certainly don't talk about it in school. That's not something that ever comes up. They don't really even talk about it in religious institutions. So, it is the thing that's there. That's the underpinning of what we are. That isn't talked about in the way I don't think it's talked about in the way that it was that it is. It's like it's so mysterious.
But the mind can't figure it out. That's what's the thing is.
Right. I appreciate your time and best of luck.
Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. I love talking about this stuff, or I wouldn't do it.
That's right. Thank you.
Much appreciation for you folks listening to The Exploding Human. The website is theexplodinghuman.com. There's a YouTube channel where you can listen. That is The Exploding Human with Bob Nickman. Once again, I want to thank Judi Larson for being on the show. Have a great day. Thank you.